We just fell short of our very high standards. I would say that the first two performances were outstanding. The third one was mediocre.
No Saliba, no Gabriel.
Yeah.
I mean, that's surely got to give you encouragement.
Long term, you've got a potential centre-back pairing there that's very, very promising. Mikel Merino, I mean, the shift that he's put in the last week is unbelievable.
Mikel Merino is one of the most intelligent footballers that I think has worn the Arsenal badge for a long time. If we hadn't signed, what would we have done this season?
70-something% of his goals have come from headers. Also, a massive majority of them have come away from home.
When I was at Stamford Bridge on Sunday, to look around and see that reaction in a game that Chelsea have picked up a point in, that kind of gave me that reassurance that people take us seriously now. We turn up to places and people fear us.
At the moment, Arsenal are recognised, I think, as being the most informed team on the continent. Maybe, in the world, really, that means, doesn't it? Just beaten Bayern Munich, who probably were that team. So, yeah, I don't blame them for celebrating. The reason I'm confident that we can fend off City is that their away form against decent teams has been bang average for over a season now. I think they're going to drop points.
Hey everybody, I'm Harry Symeou. Welcome back to Inside Gooners, sponsored by talkSPORT Bet. New customers can get £40 in free bets when they spend £10. The details are on the screen now. It's been a massive week for Mikel Arteta's Gunners, and I'm delighted to say that joining me to break it all down is Rory Talks Football and the brilliant Adrian Clarke. Guys, what a week it's been. It's been an unbelievable roller coaster. We've had highs, maybe a little bit of disappointment, Adrian, after the Chelsea result, in that when you play against a team that went down to 10 for such a long period, you kind of want to take advantage.
Oh, definitely. It could have been a dream week, and it turned into a very good week. I think that's how I would assess it. Part one was amazing against Spurs, thoroughly wiped the floor with them, which was lovely. The Bayern Munich game will have given the team unbelievable belief. I think that they can maybe go on and win that competition for the first time in our history, which would just be phenomenal. That was a statement win. And I just feel we ran out of gas a little bit against Chelsea. And inspired Chelsea, I have to say, a team that were massively up for the game. And we just fell short of our very high standards. I would say that the first two performances were outstanding. The third one was mediocre by our level, and unfortunately we dropped points.
Rory, how would you assess the week?
Yeah, similarly, that Spurs game feels like such a long time ago, and I feel drained off the back of that week, so God knows what the players feel like. And I think that was I think sometimes it can be difficult as fans to appreciate how draining, not even just physically draining, in terms of you empty the tank against Spurs, then you go again empty against Bayern, but also mentally, that adrenaline dump after the Spurs game, another adrenaline dump after the Bayern game, and I did just feel like Chelsea had more of that in them than we did, and that's the way that it goes. And to come out of there, actually, I think with a draw, it was against 10 men, so that made it feel a little bit disappointing, but before they went down to 10 men, if you'd said after half an hour, would you take a draw? I probably would have done, because I thought they were getting the better of the game. So, I think where we're positioned now, after the back of that week, I think it's not a bad place to be in at all.
No, absolutely, it's not a bad place to be. For me, it was a difficult one Sunday, because going into the game, if you listen to anything I spoke on, I said a point will do me just fine. It's been a tough week. We've got players that are running on empty, clearly. We didn't even know about the Saliba injury at that point. And I said, look, a point away at Chelsea, they've just wiped the floor with Barcelona in midweek. That would be absolutely fine. I'd be content with that. You watch the first half an hour, and as you say, you're kind of looking at it and going, let's just get out of here. But then when the red card happens, there was a part of me that thought, this is a real big opportunity that we really should take. And then I think that, combined with the fact that I was really disappointed in the performance in a lot of ways, left me feeling a bit underwhelmed. Now, I think it's really, really important that the team stays balanced in their thinking, and I'm sure they will be, right? Yeah. But for a fan, I think it's quite difficult to navigate those emotions. I mean, Adrian, no Saliba, no Gabriel.
Yeah.
I mean, that's surely got to give you encouragement that we went there and didn't lose.
Well, it gives Chelsea a lift before a ball's kicked, doesn't it? It gives them that little bit of a shot in the arm, and I think that showed. That said, Hincapié and Mosquera did fine. I don't think they were to blame necessarily for us dropping points in the match, but you want to go in with your main men, and at both ends of the pitch you do, don't you? And obviously Gyökeres wasn't fit enough to start, and that he would have done had he been fit. So we were hamstrung definitely, but I have to say Merino again did ever so well. So that was another real plus point. The performance of him and the contribution. So no, look, we take it. We accept 2 points dropped, but I do see it as 2 points dropped rather than one gained because they were there, 10 men. I just felt we could have been braver. We had a lot of joy, sort of out wide. Obviously, the tactic in the second half was bring Miles Lewis-Skelly inside, have that overload in there, and bring maybe a Chelsea player infield, so that if they don't bring someone in, we control that area. If they do bring someone in, there's space out wide, and I felt out wide was where we really could hurt them. If you look at the chances in the game, they came from sort of 3v2 overloads down the sides. I wanted more of it because every time we put the ball into the box, I felt like Chelsea centre backs weren't very steady. So yeah, I see it as a missed opportunity, but it's by no means a disaster.
Yeah, it was an interesting game, I think, tactically to break down. But Rory, let me get your thoughts on that Mosquera and Hincapié partnership, because we've heard from Mikel Arteta today that Saliba's absence is a matter of days now, which is a good thing. Good news, obviously. What did you make of the way the pair kind of handled the occasion? Because, I mean, if there's a game that you don't want to be thrown in for, this is probably in the top three, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And I think individually we've watched them both come in and facilitate Saliba or Gabriel alongside Saliba or Gabriel. And I think in those situations they're fine. I felt there was a lack of leadership, and that's completely understandable, right? They'd started one game together before in the Carabao Cup. They would have had no time to prepare for starting together in this game. And I just felt at times you could tell that they were operating individually and neither one was kind of leading the other. And you saw it, Hincapié jumped into midfield a couple of times, got caught out in behind. That is completely to be expected. I think actually it's very, very promising that long term you've got a potential centre-back pairing there that can still only concede one at Stamford Bridge under that sort of pressure. So yeah, I think long term it's not a bad thing. It was just unfortunate that we go into the game without Saliba and Gabriel.
Yeah, Mosquera, of course, was sort of partly culpable for the goal because he lost João Pedro for the wide free kick that João Pedro then sort of forces a save from David Raya from. That said, I think Raya comes off his line too far and panics and it concedes a needless corner. So that's a little minor mistake. But no, I think in general, those two did all right. But I think the leadership point is a really, really valid one because sometimes you need strong characters on the pitch just to calm things down and say, right, let's pull this together, boys. And we didn't have that. I also felt that the yellow cards were really hamstrung those two, particularly Hincapié, who's so aggressive, gets a relatively early yellow card, Mosquera even earlier, and they've got to be so careful. And I think that really did impact their performance. It impacted Zubamendi's, probably Calafiori's as well. So yeah, it was circumstance didn't help.
Yeah, I think there was I was sort of looking at it at half time and saying 3 of our back 4 are booked. Our defensive midfielder is booked. Like this isn't good. But I also look back on it. I thought Timber should have been booked as well for a challenge that he made when someone went past him down the left. He stuck his arm out and it wasn't even a free kick awarded.
It was that kind of game though, wasn't it? I mean, can we just say I enjoyed that game? Like as in, it was a bit of a throwback. I like games with needle and a bit of edge. I did enjoy it in a funny kind of way, even though Arsenal didn't perform. I didn't enjoy Arsenal's performance. I kind of liked the match it became because it reminded me of the old days.
I can't say I enjoyed a single moment of the game if I'm being honest. But going back to just quickly the Mosquera and Hincapié thing, do we agree that the distances between the defence and the midfield at times were too big? And is that in part, as you say, Rory, because there wasn't that leadership? There wasn't one of them to go, let's either get closer to the midfield and squeeze up or to rein the midfield back in. I'm sure if it was Big Gabby, for instance, he'd be bellowing out at someone, this gap is too big, get back, and sort of tighten things up. I felt tactically we were all over the place in that first 30 minutes. And I thought that made Mosquera and Hincapié probably look worse than they actually were.
Yeah, and I think both off the ball and on the ball, there are times where, Gabby and Saliba will just really slow the game down. knock it between each other, put their foot on the ball, give time for the midfield to drop back. So, yeah, there was a couple of things there. And I also thought it really was crying out for Ødegaard. As soon as they got the red card, I was crying for Ødegaard just to be that player that would drop deep, receive the ball, control the tempo. Because even after the red card, we never really felt like we had total control of the game, and we should have done. So, yeah, the midfield, like, I know what Eze does in terms of almost being up alongside Merino at times, but there were certainly moments where it did feel like there was a vacuum in midfield.
There was a vacuum, but I partly that was down to, I think, both teams set out to press ridiculously aggressively. Like, the first 25 minutes, they were pressing us ferociously. We were doing the same to them. And obviously, when we go and press, the midfield have to go to a certain point, and that it means there's going to be a gap. That's the risk you take when you do it. And of course, the two centre backs are a little bit nervous because you've got real quickies out wide. I mean, obviously, João Pedro's not electric, but in Estevao and Neto, rapid. Yeah. So they couldn't go too far. So I think we took a gamble. Ultimately, it didn't hurt us, did it, in the game? But I think both teams had that policy, and it made for a pretty ferocious start to the game.
Yeah, and like you said, once we were on those bookings as well, like that limits you in terms of that really aggressive press. You're limited because you can't go touch tight, because if they roll you once, that's it, you're off. So yeah, there were a few things that just, I think, made it difficult for us to kind of assert that control.
It's interesting because I agree on the Ødegaard thing. I felt like it became a game for Ødegaard, and it probably was never a game really for Eberechi Eze, if we're being honest. No. There was no point in the game where I felt he was really in it, and it's not to criticise the player. We know what he is, and he's brilliant at what he does. But sometimes you just need to reach into the tool bag and get something else out, essentially, and that's what we needed on the day. Yeah. What I was calling out for, probably 20 minutes into the game, was actually for Declan Rice's role to change, more so than it to be about anything else. I felt like what we needed to do just to gain a foothold, and even if we had possession across the back line, that's fine, but I felt like Rice needed to drop. I know he's aggressive now, I know he wants to get up high, I know he wants to carry the ball down the left and all the rest of it, but I felt he needed to sit next to Zubimendi, especially once he went in the book, to kind of give us that stability that we could then play from. And if we lost a body in attack, fine. At that point, we just needed that, I think.
Yeah. I looked at his pass map after the game, and the second half, obviously he did. He dropped between the centre backs. Yeah. Obviously, things changed. He played that sort of deep lying role. In the first half, he actually didn't have many touches in the final third by his standards. Like, he was more restrained than normal. But I do agree with you. Like, I think that he was trying to rein himself in a little bit as well. He knew what was needed. If you look at his pass map, there's a lot of passes in central areas compared to normal. And it was a case of needs must. Chelsea were really good. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to say, we're up against a team that's probably at the top of their game. They're pumped up for it like no other game. And you just got to get through it. And we could easily have won the game when you think about some of the chances that were spurned as well. So, Rice for me was still our best player. I don't know what you guys thought. I thought he was still the main man. That tackle inside the box early on in the game, was it on Neto? Neto megses him, doesn't he, inside the box, and then he makes a brilliant block. And then there was that run, the run where he did get forward. That was class because he wins the ball initially. Goes to Eze, and Eze plays an amazing pass, doesn't he, in between defenders for Martinelli, helps it onto Rice. That was free-flowing football. Unfortunately, didn't see a lot more of that, did we, in the game?
We talked about it maybe not being the game for Eze. Was it the game for Martinelli to come back in, Rory?
Not convinced it was. He didn't really feel like he got into the game. I actually thought, we spoke about Saliba. I really think Trossard was a miss. The form that Trossard has been in terms of, again, just getting your foot on the ball, the link up that he has with Calafiori, I think is so good. So I thought with Martinelli, I was kind of surprised that he started anyway. I even thought it might have been Madueke, but we didn't see a huge amount of him. Like you said, the chance that he had with Rice, that link up, that was the first time really in that half that we'd properly seen them running at pace against that Chelsea back line. So, maybe not.
Madueke frustrated me when he came on.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
I felt like, in the lead up to the game, I, like Rory, thought he could start this one if Trossard's out. And I've actually quite enjoyed his performances when he's played on the left-hand side up until now. But going back to your point from earlier on about the width and using that width, I felt he kept coming too narrow.
Yeah.
It was as if he wanted to leave the space to go on the outside, but he couldn't receive the ball in those kind of inside positions. He was just crowded out every time. Was he a little bit distracted by the atmosphere, the occasion? I don't know. He didn't look as focused as he
It wasn't as
does.
positive, was it?
No.
Like, I was saying, take him on. I couldn't say it because I was commentating on the game. So I was internally saying this, take him on. And he didn't. He took the safe option too often. But what really was happening was Hincapié was really playing left back. Lewis Skelly was really playing central midfield. So I don't know whether he was deliberately trying to play inside of Hincapié. I don't know, but it didn't work. Again, if you think apart from the Hincapié cross right at the end, that maybe should have been converted by Timber or Gyökeres, we didn't do much down the left all game. All of our better moments came down the other side, and I think a lot of that was to do with Ødegaard coming on, and basically Eza stayed pretty central, wasn't in the game. Ødegaard moved right and got into the game, and he forced us to play down that side, and I thought we caused them quite a lot of problems in that area of the pitch. Really,
what do you do going forward now? Do you bring Martin Ødegaard straight back into the team? Because this almost kind of served as a timely reminder, actually, of how impactful Ødegaard can be. Because if you look at the last few weeks, Eze's been great, scoring goals. Nobody's complaining. I'm not saying we should complain now, but sometimes you can forget what Ødegaard brings to the team, can't you, when he's not in it?
Yeah, 100%. I'd be bringing Ødegaard back in. I mean, we've only seen it for like half an hour, but Ødegaard and Eze in midfield together is an option for certain games.
Brentford?
Possibly. I think you're looking at Zubimendi and Rice. They played a lot of minutes between each other. Do you start both of them? I think, there's various options, but I do just think with Ødegaard, we have a lot more control in possession. I feel like the volume of chances that we create goes up massively. If you're bringing Gyökeres back in as well, I actually thought in the limited time that we've seen them together, Ødegaard was really, really sort of focused on providing opportunities for Gyökeres. So I think now is maybe, and if they can both start against Brentford, a good opportunity to bring them both back in, because Mikel Merino, I mean, the shift that he's put in the last week is unbelievable. Hopefully we get to see both of them. And even Eze, to be fair, has started a lot of games. So, I think going into the Brentford game, there's how much rotation is too much rotation. A lot of players need a rest, but certainly those coming back from injury, if they can start, probably should.
I feel like it's wrong not to focus on Mikel Merino because he's had an amazing week. He scored again at the weekend. Just what a job he's doing, Adrian. Like you've played the game at the highest level. You understand that changing position is not easy, probably better than any of us.
Yeah, it's just the picture. It's a very simple thing, but the picture you see of the pitch completely changed. I used to move from the left to the right a lot. Sometimes I'd play at 10 or as a striker, and just everything looks completely different. So not everyone can adjust to that as quickly as he can. I mean, Mikel Merino is one of the most intelligent footballers that I think has worn the Arsenal badge for a long time. I just think he's super smart and he can adapt to different situations. Just the way he pulls off defenders, it won't get any headlines, it won't get that many people talking, but it does such a good job for the team. The way he pulls off links play, and then of course what does grab attention is his finishing, and I think he's a terrific finisher as well. Mikel Merino is turning into sort of one of those under the radar signings that you think, thank goodness for that. Yeah. Isn't it? I mean, if we hadn't signed him, what would we have done this season and at the back end of last season?
I think that between him and Arteta, we've almost kind of normalised not having a single fit striker for such a long period. Like the majority of this calendar year, we've not had a fit recognised striker, and yet it's almost a given that we'll still go into a game away at Chelsea and not lose. So I think it's remarkable the job they've done. Some of the stats as well around like 70-something% of his goals have come from headers. Also, a massive majority of them have come away from home. So stepping up in those big moments, I just think.
Well, his goal, he pulls off the shoulder of Fofana. He defends really badly. Just gets caught ball watching, but he still pulls off the shoulder of him. For the red card, he makes a run from the other side of the pitch around Caicedo to give Timber an option. And of course, then he sucks Caicedo in and sort of slips it past him to draw that foul. And that's a big moment in the game. There's a lot of subtleties to Merino's game that maybe we were all guilty of not appreciating at the outset. But I mean, I don't know what you think. I just think if someone was to say, right, what is Mikel Merino? What's his position? I'm calling it now. Mikel Merino is a false nine. I think he's better there than in midfield.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that because when I watch him in midfield, I feel like sometimes I don't doubt that he can win duels. I don't doubt the physical side of the game. I don't think he's the quickest across the ground, which can sometimes be exposed in a transitional game when you're playing in the centre of midfield. But I feel like, when he hasn't got a set position, because as you say, it's a false nine role, and he can just look at the game, use his intelligence to kind of interpret where are the best places to be, that's when he's at his absolute best.
Yeah, and it allows him to continue to be creative as well. You look at the Trossard goal against Spurs, the way he drops off, plays that ball through. Yeah, I think it almost is like that role allows him to use the most tools that he's got. Whereas in midfield, I do feel like he can get a bit overwhelmed at times. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how many minutes he gets going forwards with Gyökeres coming back, Jesus coming back, Havertz hopefully on the way back too. Does he drop back to midfield or does he just? Yeah, I don't know. Be interesting.
I still think for the time being, he's probably going to share the role with Gyökeres because Havertz, from what Mikel Arteta has said, is still a few weeks away, which makes sense given the severity of the injury. And it kind of falls in line with what Julian Nagelsmann said recently, where he said he had a little bit of a setback. That's never really been confirmed from the Arsenal side. But
I also do not like to discuss
I
links.
I think Arteta did confirm it today. For the first time, he actually said he did have a setback before. But yeah, sounds like he's still.
But with Trossard and Saliba, I think there might have been a time previously where we might have risked it. They've got a slight problem, but we kind of need you lads. Luckily, we don't. We're in that such a good position at the moment with players in form delivering that we could afford to leave those two out and still not lose the game. So yeah. It's a good place to be.
Yeah. Overall, we're in a great place. Everybody's delighted with the week. I mean, little bit of disappointment at the fact that we couldn't turn 1 point into 3 at the weekend. But as I was saying to you guys before we came in here, when I was at Stamford Bridge on Sunday and the final whistle went and I looked around me and 3/4 of Stamford Bridge was cheering and up celebrating, a place, I know we've had a good record there in the last 5-6 years, but you can remember a time where we were conceding 4s and 5s there pretty much every time we went. And so to look around and see that reaction in a game that Chelsea have picked up a point in, that kind of gave me that reassurance that people take us seriously now. We turn up to places and people fear us. And to the point where a draw feels like something to be celebrating. Yeah,
I expect they were celebrating the performance. I actually think, I've spoken to a couple of Chelsea fans and there is still an element from their side as well of kind of disappointment that that's the best they've played against us in a long time. It's probably the worst we've played against them in a long time, and they still couldn't get the 3 points. And yes, that's because of Caicedo. But yeah, I think that kind of celebration relative to our disappointment probably does tell you where we're both at.
Yeah, look, if I was a Chelsea supporter, and I'm glad I'm not, I would have been celebrating that because you've just drawn with the best team in Europe at the moment. Arsenal are recognised, I think, by most, not all, but most people, as being the most informed team on the continent, maybe in the world. Really, that means, doesn't it? Just beaten Bayern Munich, who probably were that team. So yeah, I don't blame them for celebrating.
That's it. How times have changed. Then let's talk a little bit about the title race in a more kind of broader context. We're 5 points clear at the top of the pile. Do we agree that Manchester City are still the ones that we're probably most wary of, Rory? Are they the side that you're looking at most closely?
Yeah, I think historically, you just cannot rule them out. You cannot rule Haaland, Guardiola out. I actually think I've been more impressed over the course of the season by Chelsea than by City. Even you look at the weekend, that result against City, against Leeds, they kind of got away with it with that late winner.
Big time.
But you do think, and they think as well, they've got that mentality that if they're still within 3, 4, 5 points going into March, April, they'll be there, they'll turn it on. So yeah, I think they're still the biggest threat. But I do also think, we're in a really strong position in terms of being 5 points ahead of them. They and Chelsea still have to play each other twice. We've got a lot of big away games out of the way. Obviously, Villa's the next big one. But after that, I think it's only City and Spurs left in terms of the big ones. So yeah, I think we're...
So just City left in terms of tough
ones.
ones.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, no, I think we're in a really strong position, and that's why I think seeing, obviously you always get the online sort of super negativity off the back of that result. I was thinking we'd have ripped your arm off to be 5 points clear at this stage of the season with the games that we've played so far. So, City probably still the biggest threat, but we're in good shape.
I think I completely agree with what Rory said. I've been much more impressed by Chelsea, but because it's City, you're more worried about City. The reason I'm confident that we can fend off City is that their away form against decent teams has been bang average for over a season now. You have to go back to the start of last season when they won at Stamford Bridge. For the last time they really took a big scalp on the road. I mean, Spurs doesn't count really, does it? Not with their home record. So in terms of traditional Big Six teams, or even those at the top end, they don't get very many wins. If that changes over the next 2 or 3 months and they start to go to difficult places and win well, that's when we need to be really worried that City are properly back. But until I see them doing that, I think they're going to drop points.
Yeah, I think they'll drop points as well. And I sort of watched the game at the weekend against Leeds, and I think that impacted in my view on the Arsenal game. Now, if I had just ignored the game and at 5 o'clock jumped onto my live score app and seen that they won 3-2, I wouldn't have thought anything of it. But when you watch them look so weak and fallible, having taken a 2-goal lead and then find a way, it's just that it tweaks that thing in the back of your mind, that concern that exists from what's happened in previous seasons.
They're going to win. City, Liverpool, Chelsea, they're going to win games like that all season.
Yeah.
But so are Arsenal. And we're not going to be brilliant and blow everybody away every week. There are going to be times where we have to grind it out and we nick a late winner, and then we're breaking their hearts. So it's the way it is. I think for Arsenal fans, we've just got to try and stay calm and not get too ahead of ourselves, and really not worry about what the other teams are doing. Because for me, this season isn't about what City do and Liverpool or Chelsea. It's actually about what we do, and it's about us getting to 90 points. It's like that is the finish line. Can we get there?
Yeah.
And we've never got there. We're not for many, many years. If we get there this year, we win the league. Simple as that.
Yeah, I think everyone's kind of accustomed almost now to mid-90 points being the benchmark. I don't think you look at everyone in the league this season. I don't think you'll need mid-90s to win it, and so it is. It's just about, for us, it's 3 points against Brentford. I mean, Villa away is a very tough game, but even tonight, I think the big difference between this season and previous ones is, you look at City going away to Fulham. Season's gone by, you'd have gone, that's just one that they'll tick off. Whereas I'm looking at that going, that's a pretty tough game for them. I could see them dropping points there. So, and I think their own fans had kind of got into that mindset as well. And that Leeds game definitely didn't help, because a lot of them went, oh no, we really are still fallible. Yeah.
Also, like the thing to note is that pre the international break, we were 4 points clear of them. Now we're 5. And so if you had told me at the start of this really difficult run of games that we've faced, that we would have gained a point in terms of our lead, I would have taken that all day long. I would have said, let's just not lose anything, let alone extend it even further. So yeah, it's really interesting. And just on that point about focusing on us and worrying about us, I feel like I can see that in the players this season versus other seasons. I feel like I can see that in the manager. I feel like at times we have been over emotional, when we were first developing the team. And that's why the Chelsea game for me was so interesting, because what I saw from them was probably what I saw from us 2-3 years ago in terms of being a little bit too charged up and it costing you with the red card, the crowd being kind of really behind you for the first time in a while. There was a lot of similarities there. And I looked at Arsenal and I thought, we don't look phased by this, which is what I really
We were
like.
quite calm, because it would have been easy to lose your head in that game and for someone to do something silly and then it gets 10v10 or to get wound up by it. But we did stay quite calm. It was quite mature. And I just looked at the faces of the players afterwards. They were absolutely miserable, weren't they? The lads. As they went to sort of applaud the fans in the corner, they were fuming at themselves because they were thinking, we should have won this game. And that's exactly what you want from them.
Exactly. Jurien Timber actually went to the away fans, gave his applause, and then he walked shaking his head the whole way from that corner of the stadium to the tunnel. Yeah. Honestly, you're absolutely right. He was devastated at the fact we hadn't nicked it.
Yeah, I don't know if he knew that he had taken it off Gyökeres's head right at the end there and he was shaking his head at himself.
If he didn't, I'm sure Victor told him. So.
Yeah, I bet he did.
It's just so hard. Like, I've heard of him criticised, but like he's in a position, he's got free header himself. it's what is there, 40-odd thousand there? It's noisy. You're not really going to hear a shout. And if you think you've heard one, are you really going to duck? Are you really going to duck there and leave it?
If you leave it and there's no one behind you, you think, oh my God,
it
could have been the moment.
Unlucky.
So
Yeah,
it is unfortunate.
Another week, another London derby for Arsenal to look forward to, taking on Brentford, of course, on Wednesday night at Emirates Stadium. Really, really important, guys. I'll come to you first, Adrian, that we get back to winning ways. But this isn't going to be an easy game, given the way Brentford have started the season.
No, I'll tell you why it's probably a difficult game on paper. It's because stylistically they're quite similar to Sunderland, whereby they're really direct, and their game is built around counters, long balls, and putting the ball into the box from long throws and set pieces. And we have looked a little bit shaky. I don't think there's any denying that. I don't think we've completely nailed the art of defending wide free kicks and corners. I think there's room for improvement there. And obviously we're a little bit depleted with no Gabriel Magalhaes, maybe no Saliba for this game as well. So, yeah, they're awkward. Hopefully we can, cut them apart and create plenty of chances and score goals. But what they will aim to do, what they've done at home to the likes of, they've Liverpool, Man United, Newcastle, where they draw you in, they back themselves to defend, and then they go bang, long ball over the top to Sharda or to Igor Thiago, and then they make things happen. So we've got to be really aware of that, and I'm sure we will be.
What would you do team-wise, Rory? Because it feels like with the games coming thick and fast, we've built this squad that we've all been lauding all season. Mm-hmm. Now's probably the time to use it. What would you do? Because, we are depleted in certain areas, and some of the choices that we might have made have almost been taken away from us as options. So is there anything that you're looking at and thinking this could be the day to tweak this or that?
Yeah, it's really difficult, I think, to find the balance between rotating, which I do think we desperately need to do, and not over-rotating and costing ourselves. And, I think a lot of, as fans, we've almost been looking at this Brentford game at the end of that massive week going, Brentford, we can rotate. And I hope the sort of players don't get into that mindset of, it's Brentford, it'll be an easier game. But I think Timber definitely needs a rest. Ben White, if we can't use a Ben White in a game like this, do we actually have the depth that we're talking about? Same with Christian Norgard, I think has to come in for either Zubimendi or Rice. Because again, if not here, when are these players going to be starting games?
I'm just worried for Norgard because he's had such little game time.
Yeah.
Like, is he going to be sharp enough against the Brentford team that they're totally match fit?
This is the conundrum, because especially because having Hincapié and Mosquera, that's probably rotation that you've been forced to do that you might not have done otherwise. And suddenly, if you are taking out Timber and Rice and you're looking at it with Hincapié and Mosquera going, this is almost a Carabao Cup team at this point. I do think Erdegaard coming back in, Gyökeres coming back in, for me actually improves the team in that sense. So very difficult to figure out exactly what the right way to go about it is.
I don't think I would take any of Zubimendi or Rice out. I think Rice is too important, especially against Brentford, that kind of physical team. And Zubimendi came off on about 57 minutes.
True. I think he can.
So he's got. There's an extra half an hour in there that we didn't use at Stamford Bridge. That would probably lead to me picking.
I think the only change in midfield would be Erdegaard for Eze. But I could see Eze being moved out to the left, just to cause them a few headaches, because we're going to need creators in this game, because they will block up the spaces, and you're going to need a little bit of ingenuity, I think, to open them up. Maybe the pace approach won't work so well, because I don't think they're going to leave a lot of space for us. I don't think it's a game for Martinelli at the start. It would be a game for Trossard, but I don't suppose he'll be available. So it's a big selection, because Villa is huge.
Villa away lunchtime on Saturday as well, so no turnaround time.
Is it a game for Miles Lewis-Skelly? Because he came on at half time at the Bridge. I haven't been massively impressed with his last couple of performances, but the fact that of all the players on a booking, it was Calafiori that went off, does it suggest that maybe Calafiori is maybe carrying a little something, or hasn't quite recovered from the last knock? Because honestly, I was looking at the defence on Sunday and I was going, Calafiori's like one of the go-tos. I probably wouldn't be taking him off if I'm worried about the cards of the three, but he did. And that makes me think that maybe fitness-wise, he's not 100% there.
Possibly. I think there were a couple of things. I think you definitely had to take someone off from that back line. Having three of them on a booking would have been too risky. And I think, you know, you had Ben White on the bench, but you didn't have like a recognised centre-back to come on at centre-back. And I also think Miles Lewis-Skelly coming on was tactical in terms of filling that midfield. So I think there were various reasons to do that. I'm on the fence with Calafiori because I think we need the height that he has compared to Miles Lewis-Skelly. But Calafiori is also one booking away from suspension. I think if he gets booked against Brentford, that's him out of the Villa game, where I think it'll be really important. So, yeah, again, it's a bit of a headache with that one. I probably would start Calafiori and gamble on him not getting a booking. He did only play 45 minutes, so in terms of freshness, I don't think it's too bad. But yeah, there's a lot of big decisions to make.
Ouattara's a good player down that side as well. I think the Ben White thing, I don't know if I would. Like, I'm hearing you, but Kevin Schade, I think, is the quickest player in the Premier League. Like, he's as quick as Mickey van der Ven. Like, his stats are unreal.
Yeah.
And Ben White hasn't looked... He's not as quick as Timber, is he? And he hasn't looked that sharp. That would be a risky selection. But do you back yourself to dominate the game and you know, just go out and win it anyway? You know, it's a really tricky one, I think, this for Mikel Arteta. But knowing him, he will see this 3 points as valuable as Villa, you know. So well, you just said it. We've got to get back to winning ways.
Yeah,
making wholesale changes might not be the way to do it.
Yeah, because Villa Park is the sort of place that even at full strength you could still draw. You know, they are a solid team. So you do look at it and go, well, if you rotate heavily against Brentford, draw, and then you still draw at the weekend, then you've dropped 4 points. So yeah, I think the one good thing is that Brentford, A, their away form is terrible. I think they've lost 5 out of 6 Premier League away games this season. And B, they're not as accustomed to playing every 3 days. I think they put a shift in against Burnley. I think Igor Thiago came off at the end with a knock. So, you know, I do think we should be winning the game. It's just about, you know.
Yeah, I think it's really difficult because when you're playing every 3 days, you don't want to be distracted by the game that's around the corner. But it's impossible not to be at times because you have to consider the loads that you're putting on everybody. Yep. But I just feel like at this stage in the season, with the options that we've got, you've got to be trying to manage people's loads by saving them 20, 30 minutes.
Who plays up front?
For me, I don't know if Victor Gyökeres is ready to start. I mean, I know he didn't have much when he came on the other day, but look, at the best of times, Victor Gyökeres looks a little bit clunky to me, I've got to be honest. So I'm not sure that he'd be sharp enough to start a game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw it. I thought he looked like he trimmed down when he came on. He looks a bit slimmer. Maybe that's something that he worked on when he was injured. But yeah, no, I think it's difficult. But again, with Merino, I just think the week that he's had, I think he did the most running against Bayern, probably similar against Chelsea. So yeah, Jesus, I can't imagine is going to start, but you've got that option off the bench. I don't know.
Do you know what? I'm going to go with Merino against
Yeah.
Brentford because I feel like Unai Emery's Villa will play a higher line.
Yeah.
And that will suit Gyökeres better than it would suit Mikel Merino.
Yeah.
So for that, I am doing exactly what I said you can't do, which is looking at the game beyond the game that we're playing for.
Yeah, the one I'm thinking that we could maybe do, because I do prefer Madueke on the right. I think Madueke he's markedly better out there. I think it might be an opportunity to give Bukayo a breather and just leave him to the last half hour. I think Madueke can get the better of the Brentford left back and help us in this game. That might be one that we can definitely rotate because we will want Saka at Villa Park.
If you're Mikel Arteta, I can understand exactly what you're saying there. Give Bukayo a breather. But is that something that Bukayo would be on board with, given how important every game is right now? Mikel's talked about Gabby before, Big Gabby. When I tell him he's not played, he'll kick my door down. He wants to play.
I think modern players are a bit different because they're used to it. They've grown up with it. They can accept rotation more than players of my generation would. They would definitely be banging on the door and feel they can play every game. I think trust, if you get results through rotation, it builds trust. And I think Arteta has genuinely rotated well this season. I think he's got the decisions right. And I think on the basis of that, whatever he chooses, the players will accept it because things are going well. And when he's made those changes before, it's kind of helped everybody and it's allowed players to come back fresher. So I think they'll be fine about it. But you do run that risk. Every time you leave sort of a a nailed-on starter out, it's an awkward conversation. It's not one you really want to have as a gaffer.
Is it also a thing with an attacking player as well, where you don't want to be rested against the quote-unquote easier teams, because you're looking at it going, well, this is a game where I'm going to have more of the ball, I'm going to have more opportunities. I don't want to just be coming in for every tough game.
Yeah, it's a good show. Yeah, look, that's why he gets paid the big bucks and why we just get to talk about it.
Yeah, no matter what the lineup is tomorrow, I think there's going to be criticism of Arteta either way. It's the sort of one where there's no way he can appease everybody with it.
That's just the case in general nowadays, though, isn't it? With the way that we sort of analyse football, it feels like it's one extreme or the other. There's very few people that are able to see both sides of the argument. In terms of predictions, then let's try and sort of project how this next few days might look for the Arsenal. I'll start with you, Rory. Brentford at home, and then obviously Aston Villa away at the weekend. How many points would you be happy with? 6?
Yeah, with 6 I would be happy. I think Brentford, anything other than a win would be incredibly disappointing. I'm looking at just a 2-0 professional. I'm not expecting us to blow them out of the water. And then Villa, look, I'd love to go to Villa and win. I do think Villa have been remarkably impressive since the start of the season to fight back to where they are now. I think they've won 7 of their last 8 games. But I'm watching them and I'm thinking, even against Wolves, they were fortunate probably not to be 1-0 down. They're scoring a ridiculous amount of worldy goals to the point where you're going, is this sustainable? I'm still not seeing
9 from outside the box.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. And so I'm like, can that continue? Hopefully not. Hopefully a win against Villa. Truthfully, if we ended up, drawing 1-1, I wouldn't be shocked. It wouldn't be the complete end of the world. It would be another tough away game out of the way. But you're looking at, if you're putting your foot down on the rest of the Premier League, going 6 points is big.
Yeah. I wrote a piece on Villa last week, or was it this week? No, last week. They're on course to smash all records for goals from outside the box. Their success rate from them is unreal. So don't let them shoot. Close them down on the edge of the box is definitely going to be one of the messages. I see this week as being a bit of a grind, but us maybe producing 2 clean sheet wins. I think that would be the dream scenario, and it's one I can see unfolding. I think Brentford can make it awkward, but surely we've got enough to win. Maybe 2-0, maybe 3 if we put our foot down. Villa 1-0. It screams 1-0 to the Arsenal to me. They aren't scoring very many goals at all. They're not creating very many chances. Their expected goals figures are rotten, really. Morgan Rogers is the obvious threat, of course he is. But I think we can keep a clean sheet at Villa. It's just, can we break them down? Unai Emery's awkward, we know that. But yeah, so I'm going to go 3-0, and then 1-0 at Villa Park.
I would take that. Do you know what it is with me? Whenever we play Aston Villa, it's a game that's made worse by the fact that Unai Emery's their manager.
Yeah.
Because somehow there are still people out there that think that we should have left Unai Emery in charge for longer and that we should have persisted with him, and that had we done that, we'd be in a better position than we are today, which to me is wild. But those people do exist. They are out there. And every time we drop points against Aston Villa, they pop up.
Yeah.
And we have to hear it. And I'm not interested in the whole Unai Emery got out-tacticked Mikel Arteta on the day. I just don't want to hear it. No. So it's a game that I just want us to win, get out of the way and move on.
He's shrewd and he's a good tactician, but he's not an Arsenal manager.
No, exactly.
And Arteta he's proved to be an absolutely inspired decision to give him the job. What a risk it was. He'd never been a gaffer before, and look where we were. Absolute shambles, really, to where we are now. I've said it earlier in the show, the best team in Europe right now. That's Arteta. That's the way he's built the team. So yeah, there's no chance of swapping coaches.
No.
On the weekend. That's
I think
for sure.
The advantage we've got, but obviously we're looking at it from our perspective of Brentford and then Villa. Villa have got a really tough away game away at Brighton, same kickoff as us. Not much turnaround again between that and the lunchtime. So Emery's a super reactive manager. Definitely sets up for the opposition. Much less time to prepare for that this time. So, yeah, again, it is so annoying when we drop points to them, just because these people they're in hiding for the best part of a year at times, and then they pop out.
And he won't be able to predict Arsenal's lineup, because if we can't predict it, we watch every second of Arsenal.
That's true.
If we can't, and we know Mikel Arteta pretty well.
Yeah.
If we can't predict it, nor can Unai Emery. So I don't know whether his prep for this game will be a little bit less sort of ideal than usual. Hope so, anyway.
Yeah, fingers crossed indeed. That's all we've got time for on today's episode of Inside Gooners. My thanks to Rory Talks Football and to the brilliant Adrian Clarke as well. Thank you both, and we'll see you all on the next one.